everybody, it's Neil again from Heart of Texas Armory, and today I want to bring you guys a review on what I think is the ultimate Casio G-Shock, the GW-5000, along with a combi bracelet. So join me today and find out my complete thoughts on what I think is the ultimate G-Shock setup. So before we get into specs here, I did want to quickly go over some of the key upgrades you're going to get with a GW-5000 when you compare it against one of the more lower priced G-Shocks like this one here, this GW-5600E, which is an entry-level G-Shock square. So with the GW-5000, you are going to get the multiband 6 feature, which is excellent. What that's going to do is sync up to the atomic signals so long as you're within range of one of the towers. So they are available in multiple countries here, the US, Europe, Japan of course, and a few others. But that's a great feature because it does automatically sync your time as long as it can pick up that signal, so your watch will always be extremely accurate. This watch also is a tough solar powered module here, which is great. You don't have to worry about changing batteries, although even on the standard G-Shocks the batteries can last up to 10 years. But this one here, the GW-5000 with the tough solar technology, is pretty much good to go for the life of the watch. You'll never have to change the battery. And another advantage of this watch, at least in my opinion, is that it does come with a more monochrome color scheme here. So if you take a look at the text here on the actual watch face, you can see that the colors are mainly white and gray. When we compare that against something like this, the 5600E, you'll see that this watch has a lot more variety in regards to the colors, which I will admit makes it look more retro, but I'm just always a fan of more monochrome finish. To me, it just looks a little more classy, so I definitely prefer the monochrome finish on the GW-5000. This watch also comes with an upgraded strap here, so the rubber compound here is a bit more soft and comfortable on the wrist. So if you buy a GW-5000, most likely it's going to come on this strap here. You can see I've got it installed actually on my 5600E, but this softer rubber is quite comfortable on the wrist, and it's definitely an upgrade over the standard rubber compound that the standard G-Shock squares come with, which results in a more premium feeling strap overall. The GW-5000 also features a slightly higher resolution dot matrix display here. Not a huge upgrade by any means, but it is nice that the screen is a little higher resolution. And the last advantage here of the GW-5000 is going to be the full stainless steel construction of this G-Shock. And this is the key feature in my opinion, and it's the reason why I decided to pick up one of these watches. And I'm sure a lot of guys out there that have purchased these probably agree with me as well, that this is the key reason why we purchased one of these watches. So of course, most G-Shock squares are going to be constructed of a polymer resin material, and generally it's just the case back that is steel. So for instance, on my GW-5600E here, you can see it has a stamped steel case back. Some other models like the 5610 have a fully machined steel case back, but it's still similar to this one here where it's attached to the polymer case of the watch by 4 screws. Now the polymer construction does allow these watches to be produced very cheaply, and that's one of the reasons why they're such a great value. And of course polymer is also very durable so long as you don't get it too hot. But polymer does have a life to it, meaning that after a decade or so the polymer can become brittle just from basic use as well as sun damage. And while that probably won't destroy the watch, it's definitely going to deteriorate in how it looks and how it feels on the wrist. So now moving back over to the GW-5000 with the full stainless steel construction, you can see that this watch does have a screw down case back, which is really nice. That's really going to add to the waterproof rating of this watch, so I have no doubt that this watch here would be able to survive the 200 meters that it's rated to. The watch case itself is also stainless steel like I mentioned before, so even the lugs are stainless steel, which is great because when you use your spring bars here, they're actually going to lock in steel on steel versus to the polymer watches where the spring bars, which are steel, are going to be steel on polymer. This one here, steel on steel, and it makes for a much stronger connection. We do have a polymer shroud here. You can see it's attached to the side of the watch case here by 4 screws, 2 on each side. And that shroud is going to protect the watch finish as well as giving the watch that telltale look of a G-Shock square. So from the top it's going to look like any other G-Shock square, but to the person that has the watch on, it's certainly going to feel a lot more premium and nice because of that full stainless steel construction. Taking a look at the specs here of the GW-5000, we have a case diameter of 43.5 millimeters at the widest point from here to here. Lug to lug from this point right there to right up here at the top of the watch, 48.5 millimeters. If we take into account the combi bracelet, you can see it kind of extends a little past the actual lugs. That measurement there is right under 60 millimeters, like 59.8 millimeters. The thickness on the GW-5000 is slightly thicker than most G-Shock squares. You're looking at 13 millimeters, still thin enough that it wears perfectly on the wrist though. And with the full stainless steel construction and this combi bracelet here, you're looking at a weight of exactly 100 grams set up for my wrist size. And the combi bracelet here does taper beautifully from that point right there of 25 millimeters all the way down to 17.5 millimeters at the clasp. The stainless steel components on this watch, so the case, the watch back here, they're all coated with DLC. Now, DLC is diamond-like carbon, and it's a very impressive coating that's applied to steel, so it does a couple of things. One, it's going to boost the corrosion resistance of this steel, which is always nice. And the second thing the DLC coating will do is boost the hardness of the actual steel. So that's going to help minimize scratches that you might pick up on this watch, so that's always a good thing as well. The watch does have a mineral glass right here over the dot matrix display. Of course, I would have preferred sapphire glass, but mineral glass is pretty tough stuff and it is fairly scratch resistant. And another thing, with that recess, the glass is pretty well protected. The water resistance here is rated to 200 meters, so you could use this watch for diving, and I do believe this watch would survive actual diving. With that stainless steel construction and the screw down case back, the water resistance of this watch is going to be a bit more robust when you compare it against a standard G-Shock square. We do have multiband 6, which is great, so it will sync to the atomic clock as long as you can pick up that signal. We do have the tough solar technology built into this watch. You can see that kind of checkered pattern going around the watch face here. Those are your solar cells that collect the light, so anytime you're in ambient light, this watch will be charging its battery, and on a full charge you can get many months of use out of these watches. And this module here has a power saving mode that, for instance, during the night it can actually power down and conserve battery life even longer. And the module here is a 3159, so again, with these extra features, it is a different module number when compared to some of the other G-Shock squares. The operation of this watch is very straightforward and simple, so we do have 4 buttons here of mode, adjust, light, and receiving. So here on the main timekeeping screen, you can see it does have the time here on the bottom half. Up the top, we have the date and day. If we push the mode button once, it'll take us over into a world time mode, so you can keep track of different time zones. Another press of the mode button will take you to the alarms. There are multiple alarms you can set with this watch. Another press will take you to the stopwatch mode. One more press will bring you to a countdown timer. And then finally, if you press the mode button again, it'll take you back to the main timekeeping screen. The light button on this watch is located here on the top half of the right-hand side of the watch. And I do much prefer this location compared to, say, my 5600E. You can see the light button on this watch is located on the bottom half. And I do prefer the location on my GW-5000 because it's easier to push, in my opinion. You don't have to use your thumb. You can actually use your pointer finger here. And of course, being a Casio G-Shock, the illumination is excellent. You can easily read the watch, no problems at all. So all of these features and that stainless steel construction really make the GW-5000 one of the best G-Shocks on the market, in my opinion. And for me personally, it is the best G-Shock. It gives me the look of the standard G-Shock square, which I'm a big fan of, but you also get the premium feel of a full stainless steel construction. The added premium feel in the weight of the watch just feels wonderful on the wrist, and it definitely feels more like a quality watch when compared to the full polymer G-Shocks. And then when you pair the premium feel of this watch here with a combi bracelet, you pretty much create the ultimate G-Shock. The combi bracelets, I've done a video on these recently on my channel, so check out that if you want a little more detail on these bracelets. But what I will say here is that they are extremely comfortable. They really balance out the watch, particularly with this one here with the stainless steel construction. Since it is a heavier watch than your polymer G-Shocks, the combi bracelet really balances the watch on your wrist, and it's just very comfortable, and also you have to admit it is very nice looking. And one more quick advantage I'll point out with the combi bracelet. So unlike the standard straps where you have to use a pin and buckle, which to me always is tedious and just takes too long to put on or take off the watch, the combi bracelet here uses a simple dual release clasp which functions beautifully and really aids in the speed at which you can put on the watch or take it off your wrist. So overall, in this configuration here, I think this is probably the best G-Shock you can buy for the money. There are the polished full metal G-Shocks with the metal bracelet, which are nice as well, but to me those are a bit too blingy with that polish, and also they're just too heavy in my opinion. So one of the things with G-Shocks that I like personally is that they're lightweight. And this watch in this configuration weighs only 100 grams, so it's certainly heavier than your full polymer G-Shocks, so it's not going to feel like a toy, but it's also not going to weigh your wrist down. So if you're doing some type of physical activity like going to the gym, playing sports, swimming, or anything like that, this watch here at 100 grams feels wonderful on the wrist when compared to the full metals, which weigh quite a bit more. And another thing about the full metal G-Shocks is their price. So those watches are going to be quite a bit more expensive compared to this watch here in this current configuration. So some of the full metals can get over $1,000 like the titanium model, but the GW-5000 can be picked up anywhere from around $220 up to around $300 depending on where you buy it or if you buy it used. And then a combi bracelet is going to run anywhere from $50 to $150, again depending on where you buy it. So that is a bit of money for a G-Shock, but when you consider all the features we talked about and some of the key advantages this watch has over some of the cheaper G-Shocks, to me it was certainly worth the purchase. As for the negatives, there's not a lot to report with this watch. There's really only two things that I'll mention. So one, I really would have preferred this watch to get the sapphire glass upgrade. Mineral glass is fine, but I definitely would have preferred the upgraded sapphire to prevent scratches in the future. And then the only other slight negative I'll mention are the buttons here. They are improved a bit over the 5600E, particularly this button right here. It is a bit more pronounced, but I do think that the buttons could have been a little easier to push. They're not hard to use. They're just not quite as nice as, for instance, the ones on the full metal squares. But in the end here, this really is the ultimate G-Shock, at least for me. The GW-5000 along with the combi bracelet make for the perfect traveling companion. This watch will take anything you can throw at it, but it's also not too flashy or loud, so it's not going to draw attention to you where your watch could become a potential target for a pickpocketer. Having the multiband 6 is really nice. You really don't have to worry about setting the time for this watch, as it's going to sync with the atomic clock towers. The tough solar is also an incredible feature. I love not having to worry about changing the battery on this watch. It's pretty much a do-it-all, low-maintenance watch here, one that you can take from the gym or to the beach or anything in between. And then when you pair it with the combi bracelet, the comfort on wrist here, the premium feel, this GW-5000 in this configuration is just about perfect. And it's a watch that I cannot recommend highly enough. If you can get over the $300 price tag, there's really not much to complain about here, guys. Highly, highly recommended. If you have any questions or comments on this watch, definitely leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. And guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Y'all take care.